Hey folks, and welcome to a daily rating special. Yes, today we're doing something a little different. We won't be talking about a specific film, but rather the movie and theater industry as a whole. So Vincent Daly and myself have come up with 5 ideas each, things we would do or change to make movies better and get people back into the theaters. So we're calling this a daily rating special, Vin and Tom Save the Movies. So sit back, relax, and enjoy 2 guys not at all in the industry pontificating on what everyone else could be doing to save the movies. So folks, just stay tuned and enjoy the special. Mr. Vincent Daly, how we doing over there?
Thomas, how's it going?
It's going okay. On my side of the table, we have a special. How was it? How was your special? How was your special?
Oh, it was a breeze. It was a breeze.
No movies watching this week, folks.
Yeah. Almost like to the point that with no movies, sometimes I have like a weird like guilt, a little cloud hanging over my head.
Probably depresses you.
Yeah, because I'm so in the groove. I'm just like, all right, what's the next movie week? What's going on? But yeah, this was fun. I thought this was a way better idea than us covering, I don't know, what is it, Deepwater Horizon?
Right, exactly right.
Another deep water film that no one cares about.
And I think it makes sense. We had the Oscars, and we have kind of a loose week, and then really with Mikey 17, things pick up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think this was a good time to do this, and I've been thinking about it for a while, because it's just been in the back of my head. I was just like, how do we fix this? We had to fix this, the trailers, this, that, the other thing.
Yeah.
What could we do? And that's why when I pitched it to you, you were like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah,
This is a fun little exercise.
Absolutely. And also, I mean, the specials themselves, you hear the special music. It's the expectations of that. I like that we could do something like a side thing like this and
just have a conversation.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think that Hollywood will be saved after this.
Yeah.
We have all the answers. We have
all of them.
If there's 2 guys that could come together and fix Hollywood, clearly it's us.
It's clearly.
But also so there's something I've been noticing that has been annoying me actually. And it's everyone talking about how, movies are dead, the theater business is crashing, and yada, yada. But there's, more and more important people and people who actually could affect change.
Sure.
Bitching and not doing anything. Or combining, forming the Avengers of this. And it all comes down to, Quentin Tarantino. I don't know. I have this Quentin Tarantino quote.
Sure.
And I kind of wanted to start things off with this. He was in a somewhat public, small room, and he was bitching about film. And Quentin Tarantino says, well, what the fuck is a movie now? What, something that plays in a theater for a token release for 4 fucking weeks? All right, and by the second week, you can watch it on television. I didn't get into all of this for diminishing returns. It was bad enough in 1997. It was bad enough in 2019, and that was the last fucking year of movies. That was a shit deal as far as I was concerned. And the fact that it's gotten drastically worse, it's a show pony exercise, and you have the theatrical release, and in 2 weeks, you can watch it on this streamer or the other streamer. And that was him, then he went into how his next project won't be his 10th film, will be the plays that he's been working on. Sure. And his dip on Broadway.
Yeah. We spoke about a little bit pre recording today that we found it interesting that he gave the award to Sean Baker. Sean Baker then used his platform for, at least I believe it was Best Director at the Oscars.
I have that quote.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think I grabbed these 2 quotes because this is the thinking of the industry a little bit. People are on edge about it. So Sean Baker accepted his quote or accepted his award and said, we are all here tonight because we love movies. Where did we fall in love with movies? At the movie theater. In a time in which our world can feel very divided, this is more important than ever. It's a communal experience you simply don't get at home. Filmmakers, keep making films for the big screen. I know I will. And distributors, please focus first and foremost on the theatrical releases of your films. Parents, introduce your children to feature films in movie theaters, and you will be molding the next generation of movie lovers and filmmakers. And for all of us, when we can, please watch movies in a theater. And let's keep the great tradition of the movie-going experience alive and well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's almost like a Tom Cruise-esque mission statement.
Absolutely. You have Tarantino kind of, it's all gloom and doom. He's almost throwing his hands up. Yes. He's giving up. And
these guys pleading.
Absolutely.
Right? Tom Cruise. Real jets, real G's.
Real jets. We'll see you at the movies.
So... But anyway, and it was really when Tarantino said that like a few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago, and because my thing was, okay, I'm hearing enough about this from like major people now, and why don't you all kind of start, I don't know, just these people are powerful people.
I like your comment about the Avengers, too. I mean, these are possible trendsetters to the people that care about movies. I know directors, if you listen to any episode of the podcast, we care about directors quite a bit as far as the vision goes. So
if you don't like it, I feel like you, Quentin Tarantino, have a bit of a voice and some say-so in the backroom deals.
Sure. Maybe not the most eloquent.
Sure.
He's kind of stumbly, but...
But people respect Tarantino, and maybe you can help out other people or get something going or, Listen, they got together and saved TCM. Okay. Now it's time to save the theater.
And that's what we're here to do today. We're here.
So, just a good idea. And I asked you before we started if you have yours from, we said your top 5 things you would do to change.
Yes.
Or do differently. I didn't rank them personally, and it doesn't sound like you did either.
No, I didn't rank them. I will say the first one springboards completely off of the Baker quote and the Tarantino quote.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And then my last one is the antithesis of the Baker quote and the, Tarantino
Wonderful.
quote. So a
Perfect.
little bit of a spectrum,
And what are the rules today? We're just going to go through them?
I guess side by side. I think we're going to have a lot of overlap.
Well, my thing is if we have overlap, then we call out we have overlap.
We
don't have to do 2 sections of the same thing.
Absolutely.
But that's the idea for this episode is people are bitching about it. Everyone knows it's a problem, and yet it seems like no one is doing anything about it. Even studios aren't happy. Studios are the ones losing the money. The theater chains are the ones losing the money.
Absolutely.
And I just feel like there's a lot enough smart people that could make some change.
Yeah, especially if you're the most important
right here on the Daily Brief. No.
Right.
Sorry, what were we saying?
It's us. Especially like in the most important piece of that, like the creators themselves, these directors, that's the fuel for the machine. So
big time.
If they have a willingness to try to revitalize this in some way, guess what? You have your most important piece.
And the producers, I would say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They just have to now become aligned to that. And maybe not the Avengers, but like some sort of concerted effort, some sort of collaboration, which is kind of the theme across a lot of these. And just that, I don't know,
be a driving
movies
force.
are all kind of on the same team. I feel like things can be done smarter to promote movies as a whole rather than head to head. Is this doing better in the box office? Everything else sunk,
Yeah, and all you got to do is strike while and it seems like almost lately it is every man for themselves because it has been. We know we're going to get maybe 2 box office hits a year. We need to be one of those.
Sure.
And instead, there's an entire culture or an entire ideology that needs to start changing.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know, it doesn't take a lot to start to drive change as well. Because once if Regal changes stuff and it starts working, AMC is going to pick up on that.
Oh, sure,
if
absolutely.
This type of movie starts. We have been talking about that even with like Christian-based films. You have one get popular, and now it's like they're doing their best to change their ways or try to become more cool.
Right.
And that they're trying to be a player now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, Angel Ventures trying to operate like a normal studio and even like before their own films, like adapting and like making their own trailers. They understand they have to work how normal movies work.
And maybe it's just that they were fat, bloated whales for so long. And cash was plenty for a long time.
Yeah.
And now things have to change. And that's why when you have A24 come up, when they did, they were small and a slender company. And they had to take the most baby steps of all baby steps and kind of creep their way to where they are now, which they're just straight up a major player now. But you have to think about where they started. They were very smart the way they went around the business and into the business, where these guys most of them were already there. They were already established,
Sure.
and it's so hard for those dinosaurs to change their ways.
Absolutely. And you'd think 5 years, basically since COVID, or, as Tarantino says, 2019, the last year of movies.
Right, his year. Right. The year his movie came out, last year movies.
Yeah, I'm sure he's referring to Avengers Endgame as the last blockbuster. But you'd think 5 years of lumps, 5 years of getting kind of beat up on this would cause them to do something different, drastically different. But we'll see.
And it's called trying to utilize streamers, which I don't think is the way. And I think it's my thing. I mean, movies have been dying. I think 2009 was kind of the last year.
Yeah.
And then it started to, especially after that first Iron Man, just the blockbuster has officially changed into the next era.
Sure.
Yeah.
Where There's definitely an evolution. Absolutely.
Right, where Jaws kicked off the blockbuster, the summer blockbuster, and then it went through iterations. The iteration of MCU destroyed a lot.
Yeah,
absolutely. And 2019... it's 2015 was a massive box office year. 2019 was a massive box office year, but that doesn't mean you're saving movies. That just means that the pocketbooks are looking good.
Sure.
And that's two different things.
And the pie, I don't know if the pie was expanded, but at least that share of the pie of movie-going dollars. A juggernaut was part of that instead of it maybe growing the total cap of it. So,
and I think while you were changing and cannibalize everything else and taking all the money, it's also you were digging yourself into a deeper hole because we do still have MCU movies.
Oh, yeah.
And they should still be or trying to be the biggest movies of the year.
Absolutely.
And no one is interested anymore.
There's
There's interest, but there's not 2019 interest.
Right. Absolutely. But I would say, kind of kicking it off with my first point, it's about the theatrical run. My number one point, and I would say if there is a priority, what I think is like the highest importance among these, is very simply stop putting things on streaming so quickly. The window between theatrical releases and streaming at home cannot be shorter than its own theatrical run. Sometimes we've encountered this in the last 2 years to the point that even when I've maybe wanted to push movies to the following week, whether that's the flow of the show or even just my eagerness to go to yet again at the theaters, to spend that money, there's something there that you can almost expect. If a movie is not a blockbuster, a movie is not like this massive hit, it's going to be on streaming in 2 weeks' time. It's going to be out of the theatrical run. A lot of things are driving that, I think.
Yeah, what would be the thing to fix that? Who do you talk to?
I would say just further time in the theaters. Maybe that even kind of piggybacks of what you said, a couple weeks ago on the podcast, that you think there might be too many movies. The schedule is just too busy.
Yeah.
The theaters themselves are pressured to move a slot out because guess what? There's another slot that's going to replace it.
I don't think that.
Oh, really?
So when I say there's too many movies, I think there's too many lower level movies.
Oh, okay.
I think there's too many small time indie festival stuff going on.
Interesting. Okay.
I think the movie slot business has always been challenging for a long time with the theaters with the movies coming out, and you only have 52 weekends of the year. But could that be the executive producers and the director signing on to a project,
sure,
writing it into the contract?
Right. There's some sort of accelerated monetization that they're using, that they want to get things on streaming just to recoup an extra kind of impact of like people that were not going to the theaters at all.
Right.
I don't have a quote prepared, but I know Matt Damon and
Ben Affleck?
Yes, have spoken about this, about DVD sales and how that has changed the business model fundamentally. There's great quotes of them talking about that type of stuff, but I just think my main point, and I think it comes from a real observation of how moviegoers and how people interact with me from the podcast, is that there is not a rush to go to the theaters to see things opening weekend, even if the experience would benefit from a theater experience. Instead, the sentiment across the states is that I know this is going to be on streaming in no time.
Real soon. And I think it's funny because they ruined themselves a little bit. I mean, COVID just didn't help anything because it's just like, hey, I mean, WB says we're going to just release everything on Max for like the next 18 months. All the new stuff actually just coming out on Max or back then, whatever the hell it was called, HBO Go or Max, whatever.
Yeah, it was Go for a little bit, I think. Yeah.
So, but the problem is you get people used to the idea of going streaming. You also build up streamers. So now you want to bring people to your streamers, kicking them out of the theater. And now you're saying, no, wait.
the good ones are in theater.
You're screwed though either way. So you put it in theater for 2 minutes, and now they have recreated an atmosphere where you don't want to go to the theater. So now they're forced to put it on the streamer, and that never will get your returns back of like ticketed sales will. That DVD thing is interesting because we're a wave past that. So the big thing with the DVD was, and why did we change from those dramas and the small-time dramas that we're used to in the 90s where you just make $100 million and that's okay. And Matt Damon's thing was because half of the revenue used to come from DVD sales. So the blockbuster had all new importance then because when DVDs went away, you had to make up the DVD cost and the normal theatrical cost. So you make a blockbuster, you make it PG-13 so everybody can come and enjoy, and now everyone's trying to make their big blockbuster. But now we're flooded with subpar blockbusters, so now no one is interested.
Right.
Or there's 50, or for every, it's only 1 in 10 that actually do really, really well.
Absolutely. I think what it does ultimately is that it cheapens the movies themselves. Like if you think about the valuation of what a movie is worth to the average moviegoer, I think it is at a rock bottom. I'm not saying streaming is the boogeyman that we need to hang that on. I'm saying more so that I feel like there is very simple switches you can do to create some gravitas around the theater itself to curb that trend of every moviegoer knowing that something's going to hit streaming in 2 weeks' time.
Right. And I think broadly, I think that's a great idea. The other thing is implementation. Again, I don't know how that happens. I would probably say that a studio, enough people who are making films for the studio in the coming years write in their contract or make it known, I will only be working on this project if this.
Sure.
To the point where the studio has to say, because then it needs to be publicized, hey, this movie is coming out. Oh, and by the way, it's not just only in theaters. It's only in theaters for a long time because it's not going to come on our streamers for the next 8. If it's going to take 8 months. The problem with that is Paramount comes out and says that. The issue is Paramount's now scared shitless because no one's going to be as interested in getting Paramount Plus.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But I feel like they need to prioritize. There's something there that I don't know if obviously the financials of a lot of these streaming services are intentionally held back. Netflix infamously has, they're always very shady with, kind of keeping those statistics back. Because most likely everyone probably but Netflix is operating at a loss for these streaming services.
Just about. Yeah, Netflix does do very well.
Yeah.
And you're right. I think most people are at a loss, actually.
Because they're not in the content creation game. They're just in the recycling of whatever is in the theaters. The streaming game. I feel like something there, though, that's important is that if you change the culture around how cheap that is, how transactional that is, I feel like there is a lot more that can be done to create a fire under moviegoers' asses to get to the theater a little bit more readily if they actually want to see something. I think there's a great example shown in the reliance on streaming that it's also the economical choice. The economy is something to consider in all of this, especially as far as the States go, that the inflation of the cost of going to the movies is just as important as the movies themselves.
So we'll get into my first point.
There we go. Okay.
So I kind of have that, but we'll talk about that later as far as changing up the dates.
Okay.
Or keeping theatrical longer.
Sure.
But my next thing is slash ticket and concession pricing and market it like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
The problem is they're not going to... The reason why the tickets are going up is because less and less people are going to the theaters and because the seats have been getting larger and larger. No, it's true. Because you can only... you have the blockbuster finally, and now you have less seats to actually fill. So the price tickets go... Or the price of tickets go up. But I just think if you had a decent marketing campaign from AMC talking about how you're slashing prices would make a huge difference, and then you tell the people about it. This is so granular, but I would slash ticket prices I would slash concession, and then I would really push a new kid size option.
Oh, interesting.
And make that dirt cheap.
Okay.
At least for AMC.
Yeah.
They kind of have two sizes, regular and large, and maybe even like extra large. They're kind of done with kid sizes. And I think if all you do is you market it how much cheaper ticket prices are now and how much cheaper your concessions are going to be. And, oh, by the way, for the kids, we have these dirt cheap options, and they're actually kid sizes.
Sure.
I mean, that's if you're telling if you can't, you're a family of four and go to the theaters and it's $200 between the tickets and the concessions. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
Another reason why I think there's only 2 real blockbusters a year is because that's all people have the funds for. And now, instead of it being another Friday night to go to the movies, it is a specialty to go to the movies.
Sure.
And it's just like, well, we'll do that in fall when that movie comes out.
Yeah.
Because it's just too ridiculous.
Or furthers this divide of like, do I really need to see this in theaters?
Yes.
Do I really need to drop this?
Yes.
I'll just wait for streaming because 2 weeks down the road.
But now, if a ticket and a popcorn is only $20, it's actually something that's really feasible on a Friday or Saturday night.
Right.
And I think the kid sizes, I'm sorry, but it's just like have kid sizes and make it dirt cheap.
Sure.
And then market it. Use whatever marketing you power for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because the biggest thing is how expensive they are.
Sure.
Another thing Quentin Tarantino says is like movie tickets for $5 for the longest time.
Yeah.
And then you could see after 2000 them just like skyrocketing.
Right. A side tangent with that, do you think, I don't know, the move to more luxurious style seating, less type of stadium, auditorium type of seating, do you think that maybe is a bad direction to go with it? Because that's obviously inflating some of the costs because now it's less heads per theater that they can recoup the cost of everything. So that needs to go up.
But you think about how empty those theaters are for the majority of the week, majority of the time, and now a majority of the weekends.
Yeah.
I think I think it's totally fine. And people want to know that they're going to go in a nicer, more comfortable theater.
Sure.
It's just tough because everything is, AMC is driven by their shareholders. Is Regal on the stock market?
I don't know, actually. But I know Regal is doing significantly worse than AMC because I feel like every time there's news of these like wiping theater closures across the U.S., it's always like Regal, it feels like, that's taking it on the chin.
It's such a shame.
Yeah.
But I just think it's really risky, obviously, to slash your prices, but I would spend a ton amount of money on a marketing campaign letting the people know that that's what's going down.
Sure.
I mean, everybody knows it's like, half off on Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah.
It's just like, right. But people don't want to go on Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah.
So
you're like, that's done, buttoned up, problem solved.
What else do you have on the list?
Next 3, I would say, are more or drastically lower priority as far as like what I believe is like a real solution here. My next one is around cinematic universes, though, and their reboot time frame. We are obviously on the evening of what will be a new DC universe with Superman kickstarting in July. There has been a lot of chatter of next recastings of Marvel after Avengers Doomsday, the one where Robert Downey Jr. is apparently going to be Dr. Doom. And they're talking that there's going to be, as it is in the comics a lot of the times, a whole universe reset to, in a movie-making sense, gives you a perfect opportunity for recasting options and another generation of films.
Yep.
And I would say bigger than both of them combined is the news of new Harry Potter. That it feels
There's
like
new Harry Potter?
Oh, yeah. I mean, as far as the show that's coming out, there's new castings.
Oh, my God, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
and I mean, nothing makes money like Harry Potter.
No, that's true. That's a huge universe. You are going to have a reboot of Star Wars with those new films being announced.
Absolutely.
God knows what's going to happen with James Bond now.
Yeah. Oh, right. Exactly. So I feel like there's something there. I mean, if anything, the example that I would always go towards is that the respect that the Broccoli's had with the James Bond property, that it wasn't just something that they were going to have either competing projects at the same time. The casting of it had kind of a culture around it itself. I feel like my second point is maybe not limiting the amount of cinematic universes, because it's no problem if there is a cast cast and stories to be told in kind of like a group type of setting, a very theme park ride type of interaction. Not to lean with Scorsese on this, but it's specifically around the reboot time frame. And if anything, the perfect example is DC. I feel like DC is an example of the reboot time frame being too quickly brought about, and how that creates fatigue in the movie watching audience.
Oh my God, does it? It's crazy.
Exactly. And then even to your point on like the news show a couple weeks back when you were going through all like the MCU homework, the catch up of it, it's exhausting. I don't feel like that makes a good watching experience.
No, especially when we've had it now since 2008. And especially when it talk about rinse and repeat. These movies start to all feel the same.
Yeah.
It's like if you listen to music all day for 8 hours, it starts to not matter what you're listening to.
Yeah, you tune
just
it out.
sounds like sound. It just starts to sound like music.
Right.
And that's what these movies are. They're just movies and subpar movies.
Yeah. So I think there's just something there that I don't know.
Don't rely on it so heavy.
Don't rely on it so heavy. I would say the only brand to successfully do it ever, as far as a cinematic universe, and a sea of failures and false starts of these cinematic universes is the MCU specifically. So maybe there's not enough room in the pond for all these cinematic universes.
So don't be at all MCU, but the only people that have done it successfully is MCU.
Is MCU.
Okay.
I think they honestly...
They get the hall pass?
Yeah, they get the hall pass, and maybe that's also, obviously it would never happen, but maybe that's also a time to bow out after, I don't know, Avengers Doomsday. Give breathing room to these properties.
Yeah, okay, how about that? How about instead of coming out with 2 to 3 cinematic universe properties, you do one a year, one every other year.
Sure.
Would be even better.
Yeah.
So keep your storyline, but just drag it out.
Absolutely. It doesn't relate to reboots, but I think there's a great example to be found in Deadpool versus Wolverine or Deadpool and Wolverine that there was an energy around it. Yes, it was a very electric film as far as like the fan service and everything that was involved in it, but there was an anticipation of like, oh, this is the only MCU movie we're getting this year, as we covered on the podcast. It feels
special.
Exactly.
And people went and saw it.
Same concept, just taken
actually
to the macro of cinematic universes as a whole. I think Harry Potter ripe to get rebooted right now because there has been enough time. DC, MCU, not at all enough time.
No, and I mean, there is reboot fatigue going on as well, just with everything.
Absolutely.
We're getting a new Running Man this year, which kind of excited for.
No, stop. I'm not.
But we are in a running.
I'm scared as shit.
We're in a reboot world. And this ties into another entry on my list, which is a better focus to fund original stories. And also dramas, ones that we used to get in the 90s.
Sure.
Just those films that seem to go away, almost in Matt Damon talking about those movies aren't made anymore like they were in the 90s. Because of the DVD sales, and that's why we got the blockbuster.
Sure.
But when you just have a good drama, and if you were to focus on a decent writing team and true original stories to go with something, I think just has a place for it. So I took modern day stories, modern day movies that I thought do well with that, and just in a post DVD era, here are some dramas that are just writer heavy.
Sure.
Not that the acting isn't good in these films,
right?
But the writing team, it's like, wow, the writing in that film was so good. But if you have The Holdovers, The Taste of Things, Anatomy of a Fall, Baby Driver, 3 Billboards, Marriage Story, Come On, Interstellar, Whiplash, Parasite, Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot, Manchester by the Sea, The Nice Guys, Mass, Belfast, Licorice Pizza.
Yeah, a lot of favorites on the site.
Not that there's not great acting in these movies, because of course acting is making it.
Right.
Like, it's the writing, it's the story structure, it's the original concepts on a page that's going onto movies. It's just, I mean, you watch The Holdovers, and your thing is, why don't they make them like this anymore? Why don't they make them? It's not difficult. He did it. He did it, so it's possible.
Right.
And these movies can do pretty well. There's a weird thing going on where the indie film, I feel like, is replacing the old school drama that used to do well. And I don't know why I always go to the 90s, but there are some great written dramas in the 90s.
I think it's a great example, too,
it's like,
of just like an age of, or a decade of experimentation.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, throwing something out there, and it's an age of creators.
And you make $120 million, and that means you've made money.
Yeah.
Because the movies aren't expensive to make. That's just it. They're not that expensive to make. So if they make $120 million in the States, you've done great. Sure. You've done your job. You've tacked on a little bit of worldwide box office onto that, and you have a very successful movie. But the weird thing is those have really sunk down. Those movies I just read off, they're not in a B tier, but they're not like the movies people talk about when you think of that year they came out. Right. You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's a shame.
Even if they do get like award recognition, like there's a lot that is just forgotten. Even to your point of what you're saying, like there's almost too many movies, you know?
Right. And I think like the small time indie that maybe aren't even written that best and they just feel small have just cropped up and taken over that realm. Because what I'm talking about is something a little bit different. There's still a space for indie movies, and that's fine, and your A24s, your small A24s. But some of these were pretty big. Like Baby Driver deserves to actually make a lot of money.
Sure.
The Holdovers actually has a decent amount to do in a November time slot or something like that. You know what I mean? And just focusing on better writers. There's so many writers. There's so many there's so many shows out.
Sadly, we are moving away. I mean, I feel like AI is gonna.
No, not yet. But there's just it's such shit.
Yeah.
There's so many writers' rooms that it's just how did you make this? So much of the movie writing is horrible. So just dramas. Go back to dramas.
Absolutely.
And like $40 million to make, $50 million to make can get you the actors that you want. And just like go and make, A Few Good Men again or something. You know what I mean? It's like, not actually, but just
sure, right.
Give us something.
Interesting.
For God's sake, be original. That list I just listed off, so many great movies there.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's like post 2019 practically, or maybe like after Baby Driver.
Sure.
I also did some research on as far as it goes to show in the size of scripts. What's the average size of a script in today's movies, Vin, page-wise?
I wouldn't even know, yeah.
I think the industry standard is between 90 and 120 pages.
Okay.
Is your typical script in a film. And that's been that way for a while. So I think now we're closer to around 100
Oh, okay.
pages for a script, okay? Stagecoach, 1939, under 2-hour Western, 152 pages.
This is why they need to listen to us, because we are willing to bring up Stagecoach. They're like, who's John Ford?
But, okay, so Stagecoach, and this is pages for the script.
Right.
152 pages. Citizen Kane, 156. Chinatown, 160. Bonnie and Clyde with Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
223 pages script.
Wow.
Okay, Sorcerer from the 70s, 200-page script.
And there's barely anything that happens in that movie.
The Empire,
there's barely talking.
The Empire Strikes Back, 174.
Wow.
The Fellowship of the Ring, 172. Okay, Gene Hackman, The Birdcage,
right?
A great comedy drama in the 90s, 140-page script. Okay, the Avengers movie, the first one, which is I think over 2.5 hours.
Sure,
right? Definitely longer than Birdcage. 130-page script.
I love that you know Avengers by Joss Whedon, not like Birdcage.
Killers of the Flower Moon, a 3.5-hour film, was 145 pages.
Wow.
Less than Stagecoach. Less than Citizen Kane is a sub 2-hour movie.
If we ever interview Scorsese, we're saying
Oppenheimer.
Why would you say this is less than Stagecoach?
Oppenheimer, 150 pages, and these are some of the biggest movies recently.
Right.
And they don't even they can't even hold it. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show because the emphasis isn't on good writing or decent writing. There is a dumbing down. People think the audience are stupid, so they're treating us like idiots.
Sure.
And now it's a horrible self-feeding cycle where that's what you think we want, that's what we're used to, and then you give us more slop and crap and yada yada. And I just think if writing and the writing crew can go a really, really, really long way.
Absolutely.
And it's proof in the pudding. That's just that.
I think there's something too. I mean, I've tried to stay away from just bashing the quality of TV and streaming stuff. I'm always kind of at odds with that.
Sure.
There is something to be said that because that is the majority of work, I feel like that could be a contributor to the lowering in quality as a whole. That writing is kind of receiving
too
in
many
these projects.
You mean in general?
Kind of too many. Not that the quantity of work is bad. Obviously, I want people to have jobs if they want to work in the industry. It's more so what I'm saying is that the quality of what is being accepted as the writing, as what is shoveled out to streaming, that does make its way into the whole of what type of projects are going to get funded, because that's what people are watching. If you're going to look at financiers, if you're going to look at producers, they're going to see what's successful. I'm saying that streaming, the quantity of these projects is just way too much that the quality has gone down. And I feel like that does translate over to movies as well, to film scripts.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And it's just, oh, God. I mean, I watched Maverick a second time, right?
Okay.
And this was a while ago.
All right.
I'm going to turn this on again. And I liked it so much more. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But still, it's like, if the writing was just better, it would be perfect.
Right.
Like, this would be such a good movie.
Yeah.
And now it's just relatively good.
Right,
it's just like, stereotypical this guy, stereotypical
remember
this.
Yeah.
I'd be going through the Mission Impossibles.
Again?
And it's like, what's with the exposition dumps?
Oh, yeah.
It's insulting. Modern day movie writing can be super insulting.
Yeah.
They do treat us like idiots. What else do you have on the list, Vin?
I would say specific to theaters, I'm going to say, kind of circling back on this collaboration trend between studios, lean into these double features, encourage the cross-project collabs. I'm talking Barbenheimer. I'm talking Glicked. These were events because both the films are worthy of probably seeing on their own.
Right.
When it comes to Glicked, that was also Right Time, Right Place. Them being on Thanksgiving weekend, everyone kind of saw both movies because they were probably going to the movie theater multiple times, and it kind of became a natural kind of double feature, double header. I feel like there is something there that, we're all on the same side when it comes to these studios, when it comes to these projects. I feel like there can be even further collaboration between maybe lining up release dates to create these type of double headers. There could be just something there that is a reason, once again, to go to the theater instead of just waiting 2 weeks for it to get to streaming.
Mm-hmm. It needs to be a date night again.
Yeah.
I don't really think movies are a date night thing like they used to be.
Sure. Maybe in horror, but that's about it.
Right.
I mean, really the whole that we're ignoring, the elephant in the room, is that horror still just does fine. Blumhouse doing fine, to your point about A24 kind of going grassroots up.
Yeah.
They were the horror, off kind of brand horror studio for such a long time. And now they're just starting to branch out into that. I feel like there's just something that could be done, like A24 and Neon. Pair something up together. If you want to, shoot for the stars and have, these big blockbusters be paired with each other, I'm sure
You think genre changing could help?
Yeah, maybe. Because if you look at...
Go ahead, sorry.
You look at the two sides of this, and it's just like, there's really nothing relating Barbenheimer together or Glicked together. It's just more so in the act of, these are worthy to see in the theater. I feel like that's where studios can collab over. And sure, is there a risk of the moviegoer kind of smelling the sale? Are they going to smell like, oh, they're really pushing us this double feature, I only want to see one? Sure. But I feel like there could be intentionality and collaboration between these studios rather than how they see it, which is head-to-head. Who's going to beat on the box office? Who's going to, come out on top?
So what if you just took the gamble and you had one studio coming out with two very different films on the same thing? And then it becomes, again, a cultural thing.
Sure.
I think there's something that worked with Barbie and Oppenheimer so much because of the tonal shift.
Sure.
I think what would be super smart is you release an adult film and a kid film at the same time. Well, the kids can go to their film while the parents are at their...
Oh, drop them off? Well...
That's just too mathematical. The times need to work out too well.
Right. It needs to line up the exact runtime. No, I mean, I think that could be a possibility. I more so that... I like the idea of maybe a studio layering their releases to overlap rather than just okay, this is our Q1 release, this is our Q2 release.
Right.
There could be maybe holding something back to have one of these double headers that they orchestrate themselves. So, like I said, not really something that I think is a guaranteed solution to get back to the theater. But if you want to look at the last 5 years of what's been successful, those are two very very good indicators of what was actually able to bridge the gap between marketing and actually desire to go to the movie theater, without any kind of interference of, artificially kind of creating that culture.
It's almost like you needed 2 movies to do the power of what one used to do.
Right.
Get excited to go to the movies.
Yeah. So true.
Okay,
so
I like it. And listen, we're just throwing spaghetti at the wall here, folks.
It's definitely spaghetti at the wall. We've talked many a times on the podcast of being in the elevator, having an elevator pitch for these Hollywood types.
And we think we end up being wrong on most things?
Yeah. Yeah, the proof's in the pudding. We're wrong on most of these things. But
all right, so I have, by the way, I think I have like 6 on here. I don't even know.
All right, okay.
It's honorable mentions, I guess.
Sure.
Right? Okay.
I struggled to get 5, so.
I have, we can fly through maybe even some of these. I said that directors get final cut and get to cut their own trailers.
Oh, love it.
Okay.
Love it.
So, and then I said...
it doesn't really save the movies, but just love it for the case of...
It could save movies and theaters.
Okay.
But I also said up for discussion. So I said it's full Scorsese versus full Weinstein. Okay, because director's cut will undoubtedly lengthen runtimes, which is almost a problem that we've been having.
Sure.
And is that really what we need? But at the same time, you're getting the true director's vision that might get a pure It might just be fantastic.
Yeah.
There's a reason why no one touches Quentin Tarantino's films except for Quentin Tarantino.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely.
But it's that thing, and the reason why I say full Scorsese, full Weinstein is because full Scorsese is Killers of the Flower Moon, which is 3.5 hours long.
Yep.
Or you have Harvey Weinstein that tried to get 90 minutes on everything and would like butcher your film.
Absolutely.
And didn't give a shit of what you thought about it. It's just what he wanted to do to it. But I think if directors got their own cut... One, they might even care a little bit more.
Yep.
And really what it says is studios are hands off. Because when studio people come in, I am under the impression that things get ruined and pretty quickly. And then with cutting their own trailers, so one that makes movies better and might just make movies better.
I think that has legs just because the meme of trailers giving away everything is known to everyone now. Maybe there is a different way we do that. And I don't know, I'm sure there's plenty of data that marketing companies have put out there, test screen footage, testers and whatnot. That's probably a whole industry on itself of saying like, no, you actually need to show the whole movie because that's what gets them to really go or something like that. But I think we are both in the camp of just like, it gives way too much away.
And I feel like everybody feels that way. And so if you let them... It's 2 different things, but final cut is one thing. But them getting to cut their own trailers, I think they would respect that. Because why would somebody who just put the last 2 years of their life, they don't want to give you the whole movie in 2 minutes.
Right.
Like you know what I mean? So I feel like they would cut them unbelievably well.
Yep.
And that goes for your shit movies, your MCU movies, and whatever. Your stuff that we're used to seeing great. Like Paul Thomas Anderson, who does cut his own trailers, where it's like, I have no idea what this movie is going to be. It looks completely different than anything I've ever seen. So now I'm excited to go.
Absolutely.
So that's an easy one, but definitely final cut and cut your own trailers.
Yeah. I mean, I still cannot believe the second cut of Ryan Coogler's Sinners that's coming out in April or something like that. I mean, it gives away everything. We talked about that with the newest Captain America Brave New World, that it's almost a joke of how much they keep away the one secret, like what's going to be the final reveal, and you've seen it on every poster everywhere for the film,
right,
of what the final reveal is going to be. Like, I don't know, there needs to be something changed there as far as how it tracks us, but
okay. My little idea there. Okay, so
I like that. That's my favorite so far.
What else do you have? What else you got? What do you want? What number are we on even?
I think I'm on 4.
Oh, okay.
Well, if you got 6, go again.
Okay, we'll go again. Okay. I just have. Let's see, which one do I want to do? I might only have 5. I wrote something here that doesn't even make sense to me.
That's the honorable mention.
Okay. No, we're good. Yeah, I have 1, 2, 3 more. So yeah. Practical effects over digital.
Okay.
There's a big discussion. It's not like practical or absolutely cheaper these days. It depends on what you want. So CGI, for my research, for a major film is between $20,000 and $100,000 per minute on a major movie.
Okay.
And it might be it could even be a little bit more than $100,000 per minute. And practical effects is somewhere in the middle of that, meaning sometimes CGI will be more expensive, or will be cheaper, or it'll be more expensive. They fluctuate, but I think there should be an emphasis, and I think there should be a bigger push and a bigger respect towards people using practical effects.
Sure.
If you need to blow up a city, obviously you're doing CGI. But there's so much being done with CGI that's not necessary anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of that maybe could be studios themselves and the actual, like, I don't know, the actual studio, like the warehouses themselves that people shoot. There's so many. We brought it up the other day, but there's like a lot of new projects coming up where you have people building their studios in Las Vegas and Texas and Florida and Utah. It's almost,
if anything, we're on like the edge of like a huge cliff of projects coming through.
Make it practical effects friendly. Does that make sense?
Yeah. If you have the space for it, utilize it with actual creatives. Now, I feel like Christopher Nolan is like encompasses this as a meme of
Big
just
time.
like, you know what I mean? He's on the whole end of the spectrum that he's going to do practical effects no matter what. I just feel like my personal opinion on the CGI versus practical effects debate is that the CGI doesn't need to be completely removed. I feel like in the design,
Dune Part 2.
Right.
Dune Part 2 bleeds things in beautifully.
Absolutely.
You need CGI, but having some practical stuff is perfect.
Absolutely. And I feel like there's a piece that those artists, though they may not be getting the in-production work of what's directly translating to the film, I feel like a lot can be said about graphic designers, visual designers, concept designers, all these artists working in ways that are pre-production, not necessarily as the Marvel formula is pre-viz, where they design the CGI before the movie even starts filming at all.
Right.
So I feel like there's a lot there that I don't want to necessarily see those very talented artists lose jobs.
They won't.
But just kind of a rejiggering of where they are in the production of a film, you know?
I think there's too many. I almost feel most strong about this one, just because.
Well, you're coming off of watching Top Gun Maverick.
Well, yeah. But it's the same thing we always say. It's just like, look at the original Lord of the Rings films and then look at the Hobbit films.
Oh, so true.
I don't need to take. There's the computer engineers. There are a lot in Hollywood, and there's almost too many. And not only that, sometimes what they need to do, they're burdened by too much work.
Oh, sure, yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the whole crunch argument. Absolutely.
What it comes down to, as far as saving the films, CGI is so heavily used. I haven't met a person that doesn't really like it, because when it sticks out, and it makes a difference on you.
Yep.
And it ruins the experience of watching a film. I think in some type of either large part or small part, it's not surprising, or there is a reason why the more and more CGI has been used in film, the more and more disconnected we feel to our movies. I think it's less real, it's less tangible, it's just something about it that disconnects us from what we're seeing.
Yep.
And that hurts it.
Yep.
And that's why you can even watch a movie from the 70s that might not hold up all that well, but because you're watching something that actually exists and somebody at that time could actually feel it and was picking up something, there is something there. It's not that it's just real. It's not the uncanny valley.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about Captain America in the 70s, because that definitely maybe could have used some. But the most recent Captain America, I mean, the biggest critique of it was that last fight, it wasn't that it was a bad fight or it had bad choreography, is that it just felt so empty. The final fights, or actually the kind of the two climaxes in the film, that they just were so flat because it was just very clearly Anthony Mackie on a green screen alone, you know? And it's like, well, I don't know. I mean, you could have as slick visuals as you want. There's something lacking there as far as the connection to the scene.
Yes.
So,
even take Gladiator 2 compared to Gladiator 1.
Sure.
Okay, so they did like the boat scene, the water scene in Gladiator 2,
right,
where we had the sharks swimming around and everything like that.
Yep.
And you know, when it looks really bad and really fake, it's really not cool.
Right.
So almost like don't have it in.
Sure.
They did the monkey scene, the monkey fight.
Oh, yes. I think I would point to that more than the ship scene.
Okay.
It was almost anime at times.
Right. It's like, why these clearly aren't real monkeys.
Yeah. They're
because
like fantasy monkeys.
They look truly ridiculous and fake. Can you just have normal people and it be a battle? Be way better.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll always go back to Lord of the Rings versus Hobbit.
I'm glad you say that, because I will always go back to Ian McKellen crying on the green screen set of Hobbit. I mean, like, this man,
truly sad.
This is not acting to him, you know.
What else do you have? Hey, real quick, everybody, because it's a special, we don't do producers for specials. So anyone who did produce in the following week, we haven't forgotten about you. You will be producer of next episode 177.
Which, might I say, is a very good episode. We're going to do the Bong Joon-ho episode with Mickey 17 and the last 3 films in his entire catalog.
Including Parasite.
Yeah. Oh, no, not Parasite. Parasite's rated.
Okay.
I guess I could just add
No,
Parasite.
it doesn't matter.
But yeah, really great episode coming up. So
I love it. I love that we're doing, and then we have Bong Joon taken care of on the site.
Yeah,
which is just super cool. Okay, what else you got?
So this is definitely a personal beef and something that we have talked about probably the last 2 years, but really over the last year, and just the frustration of not seeing festival films, it being a chore to track these down. Theaters recently have been experimenting with re-releases and anniversary showings. A lot of this is done for animation. Studio Ghibli is a great example of that they have basically a Ghibli spot in theaters. It's not, I don't know how much money they're making necessarily, but almost every month there's something showing in a couple theaters.
Yes.
In just the same way, and on these type of anniversary releases, last year you saw A Lawrence of Arabia in theaters. Something I wish I would have just gone to with because that sounded great. There's something there that is already a slot in programming for these theaters. Use that for, so to speak, a festival catch-up films.
So I have this as well.
I was wondering when we were going to overlap on something.
Well, and we're kind of half overlap. Okay. My main thing is advertise special screenings at local theaters.
Yes.
So, and it doesn't have to be your local single theater, but it's the idea of, listen, if you've got more than an 8-screen theater, an AMC, a Regal, or whatever, they usually do special screenings of random videos, random movies that are experiencing some type of anniversary.
Sure.
Or sometimes not even an anniversary. Sometimes it's just like, hey, this movie, you know how many, the amount of times Rocky Horror Picture Show plays at places?
Right. Yeah, you have those cult classics, absolutely.
And it pisses me. We're in the business, right? We have our toe in this world.
And we can't find these
Me with
films.
the news lately, my news feed is nothing but movie stuff.
Right.
Why don't I know what's playing at my local theater? We have a big AMC near us, and they play some of the coolest stuff.
Yep.
But why do I need to search for it myself? Why do I need to go out of my way to try to figure out what's going on in their release schedule?
Yep.
Advertise it. Take out local advertising, whatever form that is,
Sure.
to whatever demographic you have to reach. It's just that could be Instagram ads, and that could be your local news.
Sure.
And the local theater, whether you're small-time theater, AMC, can be purchasing this stuff.
Sure.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows at all.
And sorry, I just took your spot. But,
no. This is definitely overlap.
And then to your point, because these theaters oftentimes have open theaters, especially during the week or on Sundays or whatever like that aren't really utilized well. This is the time to do the award films.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you doing? The distributors are so aggravating.
Yeah, it's also like a new type of offering that the theaters can kind of control a little bit. Obviously, we're coming at the point of ignorance on this topic. I understand that even in those anniversaries and re-releases, that's probably a producer pushing that. That's probably some sort of money-making machine, pushing that to get it distributed once again. I still think, though, that there is an element here that we can have the Cannes, the TIFFs, the Venice, the Sundance collaborate with theaters directly to be the funnel for what would be a nightmare to try to negotiate the individual rights of all these little movies. Let them collaborate with theaters in a new way.
Let's be honest.
Use these slots, these open slots.
Now, but the things that you have been talking about, if you are an award-worthy indie film that's super small, usually you get picked up by a bigger studio / distributor at these places.
Right. And you're shopping it around.
Right. And that's when they actually get the release. Meaning you actually have a major player, a studio, a person, a distributor, that they have the power and they're already working together. And it's not so difficult to go from film to film as well. If AMC just goes and talks to whoever scooped up the substance or whatever like that, they could just help things out a little bit.
But the observation comes from, one, like I said, the personal frustration we've experienced with trying to legitimately just cover these movies. And certainly I'm not saying that's an indicator that there's serious money to be made, but nonetheless, you have at the same time these type of re-releases being very successful for or animated films and anniversary films that I feel like there could equally be a very similar type of marketing approach that you could say, hey, you're interested in Sundance, you're interested in Cannes, let's go ahead and have a week or just one slot in these theaters dedicated to a rotating thing. It doesn't even have to be the same movie or something like that.
I mean, let's just talk about Dumpuary. I think if you did that in January, would be huge.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, what we're talking about a lot, it's all about knowledge and getting it into the water table, which is twice I'm like, they should be advertising this.
Sure.
Because
there's got to be awareness of these. They could be running these programs.
We need to have We need to have the natural knowledge. The populace has that just naturally in their head that there's more to go see at the movie than just what's technically brand new out at the theater.
Sure.
So I met my grandparents recently. I was talking to my grandparents and like, oh, we don't really go to the movies because we don't really watch new stuff and whatever. And then I'm like, oh, well, this theater right by you, and it was an AMC. I said on Sundays they play this. I know this film coming out. They were having Hitchcock Week, where every single weekend was a new Hitchcock film. That's when I had just saw Lawrence of Arabia.
Yep.
And they were like, they had no idea. And talking about getting a demographic in, an older demographic in, it's like, tell them that you're playing old movies.
Right.
Tell the world so then the world knows about it. Same thing with movie buffs. Now we know that January would be award season month.
Absolutely.
Yeah, whatever.
Absolutely.
And then also, it's just like, get it into the water table that everyone knows there's a lot more going on at the theater than just what's new.
Yeah.
It's so much of it is advertising and marketing, really.
It really is. I mean, I think it boils down to that when it comes to how are we saving the theaters specifically rather than what are the trends in movies as a whole, you know? Because... I mean, I'll wait for my final point, but it's kind of a thing of like the theaters. I agree with Sean Baker's sentiment of just like this is how you become a lover of movies. At the same time, though, it is an antiquated type of system, and they have to rely on just like classic marketing techniques that maybe you're a little tired, to get that awareness out.
Well, they destroyed what going to the movies are.
Right.
I think slowly for the past 20 years, especially for the past 10 years, big time.
Yep.
And they need to build that back again. They have destroyed movie night or date night or whatever. Because it used to be, well, we're bored. What do we want to do? Want to go see a movie? And people would go to the movies.
Right.
Now it's like, what? A movie? What are you talking about?
Absolutely. I think that's the umbrella, like the movie-going culture and what's been kind of saturated or destroyed there. I think that really is the umbrella to what you were talking about with release schedules, what I was saying with streaming, the release window of streaming, trailers, all of that kind of plays into the cultural sphere of that, of like what is going to the movies like, and what is that experience. So certainly the economy as well fits under that umbrella. Well, so we overlapped on that one. Did you have any other notes on theaters experimenting or...
No.
Okay.
Definitely get whatever, especially if it's award worthy, get in the theaters.
Yep.
Tell people about it, and then also show a lot more other kinds of movies, and then tell people about it.
Yeah, and again, like my point with like the double headers, like Barbenheimer and Glickid, I'm trying to like use observations that is already having some success with it.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Glickid was Wicked and what?
And Gladiator.
Oh, right, okay.
Clearly not as successful as Barbenheimer in name. You need a long name to work with it.
Right, yes.
But, that's where at least these two kind of observations come from, that they are observations of what's successful already and what can be done to lean into that further, to leverage that.
I like that.
So... Well,
we each have one more?
Yeah, go ahead. You go. No, because
we got a winner at the end there.
No. It's a bitter note.
Okay, we can be bitter.
I'm an old man.
My next one might be a little long, okay? And I have all kinds of scratch notes.
So okay.
Just bear with me. So it's two, but it's really one. So the broad one is change the date of the Oscars to at least before like mid-February. Have it towards the end of January, the first week of February.
Yep.
Not around the second to third week of March. So a big reason for this is the industry as a whole can't move on to the next year until this crap settles itself, meaning the Oscars need to happen. Because everybody's on their award circuits, and then you're still talking about last year's films, and we're 3 months into the new year, and no one wants to release movies in this because no one's interested in 2025 yet.
Sure.
I think the Oscars being late I think the Oscars coming out that late in a year, in March or anywhere close to March, is kind of psychotic.
Yeah,
if you ask me.
Absolutely.
What you're saying is naturally whatever comes out in January and February is super unimportant. It's why it's called Dumpuary. And if you just get them out of the way in late January, then it's done, and we can move on. And all of a sudden, February can be open again. It just shocks me that the theater industry and the movie industry only thinks that there's 9 months in the year.
Yeah.
And really 6.
Oh, yeah, and maybe even realistically 3,
right.
because
based
then
on
it's
what
just
we're
like,
finding,
it's just like, okay, what was in Q4, basically?
So I think that would make a big difference, and not only that, there are, 50 award ceremonies, because the big thing, they can't move it now, because it's just like, well, this gets this week, this gets this week.
Yeah.
Good. You need 3.
Yep.
And everybody else, if they don't exist anymore, screw them. They shouldn't exist.
Right,
it's just some type of board or panel that gets a bunch of money that doesn't deserve it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I have you want me to go through a list of award shows?
Sure, yeah.
That happen? Okay.
Yeah.
The Location Managers Guild Awards. I
I
promise you. And these are known as main awards. These are main award shows.
Okay.
The Saturn Awards, the Gotham Awards, the Governor's Awards, the People's Choice Awards, the Hollywood Film Awards, the National Board of Review, New York Film Critics Circle, Los Angeles Film Critics Association, National Society of Film Critics, Critics' Choice Movie Awards, Golden Globes, Producer Guilds of America Award, Screen Actors Guild Awards, Annie Awards, Directors Guild of America Awards, Satellite Awards, British Academy Film Awards, Writers Guild of America, Independent Spirit Awards, Golden Raspberry Awards, USC Scripter Awards, Academy Awards, and Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards.
All before the Oscars.
I just think, right. And then the Oscars.
Right. Now, honest question. Certainly.
Dump them. All of them. We don't need them. No one gives a shit. And at this point, all actors are like, they're bleeding themselves out, having to not want to go to any of these.
Yeah, true.
Anyway, sorry, what was your question?
I was going to say, the topic of what to save the Oscars is another special week, another talk we could do. But do you think the Oscars, in their branding as the most important, want to intentionally be as late as possible?
Well, they are.
Yeah.
No matter what, the Oscars are the
enough,
last.
it's like the opposite of a trendsetter. It's like the last word sticks.
No, it is. It's the most important.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, move it up.
Lead with the most important.
No. Late January, and then so many of those disappear.
True.
So it's either like
solves itself.
You have 4 weeks to get your act together. If you want to come out in late December, you can come out in late December,
right?
And some actually, I think like the New York Gotham Awards, or something like that, with the New York Film Critics Circle, I think is right at the end of December already. But anyway, you have 4 weeks. Get your shit together or get lost. Because no one cares about you.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Well, Nick Choice, I mean, come on.
Everybody ought to go to digital or whatever. Right? So, whatever. Brody can hop on a Zoom call to accept his... Well, first of all...
I think he won the SAG.
The National Board of Review, the Hollywood Film Awards, it's just the Governor's Awards. I don't know what these are, but I don't care.
Yeah, true.
Do it on a Zoom call.
Yeah,
make a phone call. We have the Tom Daly's the most important. We don't make a big fuss. We don't want. Tom Cruise shows up every year, and that's all we care about.
Right.
He cares about movies.
He also gives us the coconut cake.
Real jets,
every year.
real G's.
You've been watching.
That was his big pitch. His thing before the movie starts.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Thank you so much for coming to the movie theaters."
Right.
Real jets, real G's.
That's so great.
So anyway, back the Oscars up, and that was supposed to be the short one. The other thing I have,
okay.
The other thing I have about involving the Academy Awards, because they are the Academy and they're a driving force with everything. I would drastically change the eligibility standards for the Academy Best Picture.
Okay.
So there's standards to just become nominated.
That's like it has to be in the run of theaters, but then they got rid of that, stuff like that.
Well, yeah. So there's rules. If you want to be a part of the Academy, there are some rules. If you want to be a part of the Academy Best Picture, then you need to follow even more rules.
Oh, okay.
So let me go through some things I would change.
Okay.
If I'm lengthy in my words, I apologize. And I'll kind of let you know what I would do and what the rules were.
Okay.
Right? So the first thing I would do is expand the 6 markets that are included in the 1-week qualifying run. So there's a 1-week qualifying run, and then after that, there is a 7-day run that you need to do within 45 days of the initial release, and that's within 10 of the 50 major markets. So your qualifying run is in 6 markets, then you need to be one of those. and 1 week in one of those markets. Then it's 1 week in 10 of the 50 major markets, anywhere within the 45 days of it first releasing. Okay. So expand the 6 markets, because screw the 6 markets. They're currently, by the way, Dallas, Fort Worth, Los Angeles County, New York City, the Bay Area, Chicago, and Atlanta.
Okay.
So when I was spending 3 weeks bitching about The Brutalist not coming out, just Philadelphia doesn't even count.
Wow.
And I don't even know why Houston isn't on here. It's bigger than Dallas, but Dallas just made the list.
Interesting.
So it needs to be released in one of those, okay, for a week. So I would expand those 6 markets, take it from 6 to 15. And then I also say, instead of having to be in one of those cities, you have to be in 3 of those cities. Okay, so now we're getting there.
Sure.
Right? You get it out there a little bit more. Then I have require the film to have... Oh, what do I have here? Oh, no. I have require the film to have a qualifying run in 4 of the 15 to 20 large markets, up from 1. Okay, that's what I have. I have require the qualifying run to be 2 weekends instead of just 1 week. Okay. So if you're going to release in those major markets, now you have to do 2 weeks, not just 1. And that second week can coincide with the other 7 days that you have to do the 10 out of the 50. Are you with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I have, you must have a theatrical run of at least 10 days, not 7 days, in 20 of the top 50 markets, not just 10 in the top 50 markets. And it needs to be within 35 days of initial release, not 45 days.
Sure.
So what this is, it's scattering the movie out among the country, and it's doing it quicker and for longer. But I don't think that's not that ridiculous to me.
No, I don't think that's ridiculous.
You want to be a major film.
Yeah.
You know?
Especially when we're talking about like the time frames things are in a theatrical run, 7 days in the major market as the requirement as it stands right now, is ridiculous. That's a week, you know. So I feel like that definitely ties into even just the first point of just give things the proper time in the theaters so that they can have a chance
and spread it out.
Yeah,
because it's not just about being in. It's not just about being in a few different markets. That's also a few different news markets.
Yeah.
It's television markets. It's you know what I mean? It's getting it, just kind of spreading it out there more, because if that happened to The Brutalist, I think it would have been a major difference.
Sure.
So, and you can still be a relatively small film and get into these large cities. All you need is one theater that counts.
Right.
One theater counts. You know? That's all you need. And then I have 3 of the top 20 international markets must have at least a 2-day release of the film. So that helps out. No, that's what I'm saying they should do.
Oh, okay. What is the requirement now?
Right now, they don't need to be, but like I said, 10 of the top 50 U.S. markets, you can supplement those with international markets as well.
Oh, well...
So I'm all about getting in the States.
Yeah.
And then throw international bone. You've got to go to 3 of the top 20 international markets.
Absolutely.
And to be eligible for an Academy, the film cannot be available for streaming before 14 days of the initial release.
I love that.
So that we could even change to 21. We could do whatever you want with it.
Yeah. I just feel like there's that's the most important piece. Or
I forgot I put that in.
Yeah.
That kind of solves the problem a little bit.
I think it does.
Instead of negotiating deals and having to work with that, it could just be if you want to be eligible for an Oscar, your film that released into theaters can't go on a streaming service. In this date,
where the only thing is that with Netflix is the elephant in the room, where they have last 8 years they have pumped over like $100 million into one of these Oscar baity wins. They're pony in the race.
But what's your point?
Just that them being a streaming platform first, primarily. Maybe they've just been lobbying for that in the different direction.
Well, right, and that's why Netflix they have a release and it comes out for a week,
right,
and then it goes on Netflix.
Yeah, it's the bare minimums of what the requirements are.
Make the Academy rule, and it's got to be at least 21 days.
Yeah.
So now you know. Just make it a month. Make it 28.
Sure.
Make it 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And now you know if you want to watch that movie, you're gonna have to wait at least a month.
Yep.
And that's at least a month.
Right.
I think that's a selling point.
Yeah. True.
And those are all additions I would do to Oscars. The point is your initial week needs, and 6 markets. That's why Los Angeles and New York win all this.
Yeah.
It needs to either go to Los Angeles or New York, and then it has to do 1 day, 7 days roughly in 10 to 50 markets.
Right.
Expand all of that.
Yeah,
and it's actually not that much asking. And I think a lot of people would win out. A lot of major cities. bigger cities and whatever that come out in the wash a little bit better.
Yeah, I like the stricter or not the stricter, but expanded requirements that you're getting at here because
and it limits the films.
I think there's something to be said about Oscar campaigning. This is definitely a rabbit hole to go down. This was shined a light on recently with Ralph Fiennes for Conclave that absolutely had a Oscar-winning performance there, but his team and I believe the producers did not try to really campaign like we know Weinstein did back in the day with so many of the films.
Look at Bradley Cooper with Maestro.
Right.
I've never seen someone campaign so hard in my life, and the guy got nowhere.
Yeah, right.
A lot of wasted hours.
It is
a lot of wasted tears on interviews.
Yeah, but I feel like there could be a lessening of that, and maybe that naturally happens just because of the broader awareness of these films because they're making it to more markets, like you're saying. They have more time just to get in front of the populace,
So it's weird and it's kind of like number crunchy.
I like it.
But just like make the rules stricter.
Yeah. Interesting.
Get into more markets, get in for a longer time, and keep off of streaming for a longer time.
Right.
And then boom.
But also, it's the Oscars.
Oh, people care about the Academy Awards. People want that. And it was such a big deal when that Amazon released Roadhouse, and it was a huge deal, and the director boycotted the first showing of it because Amazon pulled it off from that Academy list.
Yes.
Meaning it didn't even get a theater release
for 7
days.
Yeah, he didn't show up to like South by Southwest or something like that.
Right.
I remember us saying that, yeah.
It was only released at South by Southwest, and then after that it didn't get your theater release.
Right.
So he refused to go to South by Southwest, and it went straight to Amazon and not contention for the Oscars.
And that's just another thing where like the voices creating these movies, they know what is going to be best for the movies. Honestly, with the decisions around the movies, that's, listen to the creators on this. So... Well,
okay. Is this boring?
No,
I'm trying to think. Okay,
not at all.
Was this a good idea that we did?
Yeah, I
think so. I think it's fun. I mean, the numbers. I like the numbers. I like the stats. You've got one more, and it's negative, Vin.
It is negative. It's also very personal, and it's also kind of contrary to everything that we've been saying so far. I mean, I had trouble coming up with this fifth one. Whether it's a result of everything that we've been talking about with the theater or just that the volume of movies that I have to watch in the theater and be wasted 30 minutes watching trailers I have to look away from and Nicole Kidman and whatnot and everything like that. I'm saying don't save the theater. I'm saying go in the different direction. Do not be the Luddite. Get rid of the theater. I would suggest for my final piece, saving the movies is getting rid of the theater. Go back to streaming being on day one. Create a pricing structure that makes sense for. You have in theaters, sure, but there is nothing stopping these distributors and nothing stopping these creatives from getting their movie in front of you on demand wherever you want to see it. Now, believe me.
Wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't want to save the movie theater?
No. I save the movies.
Care.
You
don't care about the theater? You're anti-Baker.
Listen. No. I can.
Anti-Cruz.
Anti-Cruz, not Cruz.
So you don't give a shit about the theater experience.
I feel like I can see both sides of the argument.
No, there is no both sides of the argument.
I can. Because you know what? I experienced it firsthand on HBO Max. I watched Dune like 13 times because it was just right on streaming.
And what was the best time that you watched it? The first time in the theater. Vin, I can't believe you're. I might have to cut this for the podcast.
No,
we have a movie podcast, and you're just like, the theater experience. I could take it or leave it.
Like I said, this is in this last one. It's a controversial one. I'm telling you, there is. Do not fight the tide of change. I would say the issue of having things releasing day one on streaming and simultaneously as theaters is the pricing options.
So you want to pick one.
The pricing schedule of both of these existing at the same time is what doesn't make sense.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Go about it from the economic angle. Let the market decide if theaters stick around by giving the power to who is watching the movies, how they want to watch the movies.
But that's what you have now. You can go to the movies or you can watch it online.
Sure. But that's what creates this whole problem that theaters have this 7 to 14-day window to show these things before it gets booted to streaming. I'm saying remove that entirely.
Okay. I mean, you just threw the nuclear bomb. Talk about all this talking nuclear war. I didn't think it was going to happen here. Okay, so wait a second. So everything that we just discussed, the entire conversation that we just had.
Yep.
If I was able to go in and fix the numbers and fix the pricing, and if I could get ass in seats, if I get AIS going on at the movie theaters, you would be happy to keep it.
Sure.
If I
got nothing against the theaters.
We'll find that I'm not so sure anymore. If I was able to make that happen for you, if I was
for me,
if I could with my pen make a rule that all streaming services were not allowed to show new movies until like 5 months. Okay, you're cool with keeping theaters.
Sure.
I can't. Okay.
Listen. I'm fine with it. I'm just saying.
I don't even know who I'm hosting the show with anymore.
There is I'm serious. There is something there that my observation is that theaters are dying. Movies are dying. They are not the same thing, though.
Right.
Theaters dying are a way to consume movies. The art of making movies is not dying. The art or the desire to see films can be argued as maybe dying. The newer generations not caring about movie releases and the cultural aspect that we touched upon. The thing that is dying definitively is the theater. I'm saying there is an argument here to be made that you don't have to concern yourself with the theater.
No, but
the art form can evolve of how we consume it, and maybe the theater isn't part of how we consume it.
You can't. It's
you know what? Even what Sean Baker says, that it is a collective experience. That this is how we love movies. That's how he has loved movies. That's how I have loved movies. There is a generational tide that changes, and theaters have to find a way to make themselves survive in the market. It's not our responsibility to consume movies differently.
So my thing is the reason why the theater market is dying isn't because the theaters are dying. It's because the theaters are suffocating themselves.
Sure.
And making things worse for us so we don't want them anymore.
Okay.
But make them into a place again that we want to go to.
Sure. Absolutely. But if they can't do that, then let them die.
Then let them go bye-bye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now listen, this is just like I said, spaghetti on the wall. The spaghetti is on the wall. I told you it was going to be a controversial
one. The problem is, here's my issue with
and I can play devil's advocate like a mother on all of these things.
Yeah. My problem with what I'm hearing, the way you're talking about it is, I think you have a hidden agenda.
And I'm disconnected.
And I think deep down inside, you kind of loathe going to the theater.
Maybe I do.
And I think you are. Don't you have a huge appreciation to seeing it in the cinema with the sound and with the screen?
Absolutely.
What would you? Okay, so chips are down. Gun to your head.
Yep.
You had to pick what format you would rather have for the rest of your life.
Theater.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. But I that doesn't separate me from the very real argument that
you have to choose one or the other.
Well, not choose one or the other. I'm saying that theaters are the dying limb here.
And movies are not the dying limb.
Exactly. So why are we trying to save theaters as a way to
And not only that, streamers aren't even doing that great. So really what you're saying is pick one so one can be victorious.
Bingo. Streamers aren't going to go anywhere.
Well, that's true. That is absolutely true.
I think theaters, as an antiquated thing, could maybe exist on an exclusive reruns, anniversaries like we've been talking about. That theaters are a place that you go to have that very specific experience.
In America.
A specific downsizing of the industry.
In the United States right now, I think there's slightly over 4,000. Maybe we can say 4,500. If a big movie comes out, 4,200 theaters. Are showing a movie. Okay, how many theaters do you think we should just get rid of then?
What's
the optimal? What's the optimal?
I don't have a number in mind. I would say let the market decide that. I mean, we're really showing my capitalistic swing. But no, again, the where this point comes from is that it is purely on the observation that movies aren't dying. theaters are dying.
Don't you think movies are dying a little bit?
The
quality,
absolutely. There's
interest,
like you put on, or like you had as a point, the writing. I think that's something there.
Writing, drama, original stories,
the qualities of
practical
CGI
effects over digital.
Absolutely, all of these deal with the topic of movies specifically, and are great points to have with that. None of them touch on how we consume movies in the theater, though. There's maybe the culture of how much we like the movies, how much maybe we're eager to go back another time or something like that. But
experience with what the real question is: does the theater make a movie better?
Sure,
that's the real question.
Sure. I think absolutely, I would say yes. Especially when it comes to a flawless experience. You go in a Dolby Cinema.
Right, you can't hear the guy next to you.
You can't hear the guy next to you. The seats are great, and more importantly, the sound most of all. Is amazing and can elevate that experience. But when it comes to it, I don't think that's the only way to experience the movie.
I'm telling you right now, my soft pitch, my Cold War I've been having with you, you might be the best contender for 4D.
Yo, no.
I'm telling you right now.
You know that this was one of the points was cut the gimmicks. I wanted to get rid of all the 4D.
I'm telling you. Oh, as soon as you get the water, you get the wind on your face, some spritz. I think you'll come out being like, "Whoop! Kill the streamers! Kill the streamers!"
As soon as I get a spritz on my face, I'm leaving. That is disgusting.
There is, by the way,
that really was my original point. That there was, I was gonna really fall on the sword of like cut the gimmicks. The gimmicks are an indicator of a floundering business.
Do you think
the gimmicks are the death whale of like, oh, let's do another round of 3D
gimmicks plural. What gimmick? Do you think food in the theater is a gimmick?
No, but we're getting into the theater experience, which.
You have no interest.
Listen, devil's advocate.
That was part of okay.
I'm not saying I don't like occasionally a blue icy. That's my jam.
My big thing. I thought if we save theaters, we could save movies.
Sure, and I agree that can be done, but I don't think it's all black and white. And I think there's room for evolution. There's room for revolution.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a Gen Alpha thing that's going to destroy theaters. You know me. I'm very close with my Zoomers.
Very.
And I think we're going to be making a comeback in the theaters.
Sure,
that's all.
Right.
That's all. Shocked.
Listen, I think that I'm glad that is my.
I'm glad you brought that up too.
My most, I'm happy I did bring that up because I feel like there is to the point that we don't know the answers of what is right, what is wrong. I feel like
we have the okay.
Yeah, right.
Oh, we got the answers, but
we definitely got the answers.
To the point.
Spaghetti's on the wall.
Right or wrong, yes.
But I feel like there's something there that we don't know what's around the bend, and the fundamental way that we consume this art form can change at the basis level. The level that we don't even see. I mean, think of it this way. I mean, this is definitely tangent, material, but so cut it if you want. But let's say the way we consumed movies changed on a drastic level. Let's say VR was a way that it hacked into your brainstem and you experienced movies on a entirely different level, like a sci-fi level, like you are in the movie or there's a euphoric experience or any number of those things.
Totally possible.
Would you defend theaters still? I don't know.
Maybe I have to go to the theater to do that, though. Maybe I have... No, I can't. I'm trying to defend it, but yeah, okay.
So I'm just that's where the point comes from that, the old business of making movies has the chance to survive, but nothing survives by holding on to the past.
Okay, that's good. So, I will be that guy.
Okay.
So as far as it's podcasts now for the future, I will be the guy that is still trying to get people to wear suits when they go to the movie.
Yes.
Okay.
I love that.
And you will be the guy just saying, "Do we really need? If you don't want this, we'll cut this entire." This entire culture we built up, specifically in this country for the past 100 years. Hey, let's burn them to the ground.
Let's burn them to the ground.
Let's salt the earth with it, baby.
Yep. Parking lots.
Okay.
VR parking lots.
So
I'm saying that to the theater owner with a VR headset on, taking a call simultaneously.
Okay, unless we revolutionize the theater. Or maybe what that means is destroy all main theaters, and the only thing that's left is your local.
Yeah, I think
for specialty
we didn't get down to the weeds, mostly because
where else are we going to see Rocky Horror Picture Show?
right, then your local theater. Why are you picking on Rocky Horror?
Why? Because it was playing again for the 16,000th time.
In February?
Oh my God, Vin. It doesn't stop playing on a theater down the street.
It doesn't stop.
I keep on cutting you off. I'm sorry. What were you about to say?
No, I actually don't know what I was about to say. I just think they're,
maybe you know what? That's fine. I'm the boomer. You're the zoomer.
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess that's what it is.
So I'm glad there was something controversial at the end. I needed a hot take.
Shocked. Why? I was just like, I have to rename the pod. I feel like I have to rename the special.
right.
But no, go on.
You know my opinion on these things. Like I can explore something as far as like a topic of discussion without like the emotional investment of it.
Very good with it.
And when it comes down to
pragmatist,
with the theaters themselves, I see, again, going back to that Sean Baker quote, I get it. Like the love happens at this place, but if there is something to say about movies themselves, if you think that is the only way to enjoy a movie, I'm not saying watching it on your phone or something like that, but I feel like that's cutting the art form short. I feel like the art form can exist in countless ways.
I totally agree. The art form can exist in countless ways. Mm-hmm. The problem is, I think if you really give the people that created the movie the most respect, you go and see it in the best format as possible.
Sure.
You can see it in 10 different formats, for sure.
The Nolan IMAX argument.
Going to the theater is the way to respect the artist the most who actually made it.
Sure.
Because that is the best way to view it.
I agree.
You're right. No, you're super pragmatic when it comes to it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're cool. If you want to,
you're cool.
If the arm's affected, it's got to get cut off. I'm just saying, I love my arm. That's the only problem.
Right.
That's where I'm at.
Right.
Listen, I almost had a heart attack a couple weeks ago when I found that Winnie the Pooh was English, okay? Some of this stuff is just...
You identified him as American.
It's in my blood, correct. That's very correct.
It's great. But I think tying this all together, I think we are absolutely on the same page that listen to the directors, listen to the creators. If Nolan argues the primary way you're going to watch The Odyssey coming out is in IMAX and only IMAX, believe me, I'm going to see it in IMAX.
Okay.
And to the point that if you would possibly say, no, lesser theaters would not be the way to watch that movie,
right.
I would definitely respect the artist in that way.
Okay. So, all right.
But I think there is a business angle that theaters need to reckon with that and survive.
Well,
in some way.
I mean, all props to you. You threw me for a curveball on the end of that one. Wow.
I'm glad.
I liked it though. That was fun. That was fun.
That was good.
Anything else you want to touch on here, Vin?
No. Well,
lasting notes, anything like that?
No. Folks, if you like these type of more kind of casual discussions, believe me, there are plenty of weeks of movies that I don't have to see. So we can definitely kind of replace these. If you obviously have any comments, leave a comment on YouTube, write in, produce. We're happy to hear from you and your thoughts on this. Certainly, if you want to tear me to shreds on getting rid of the theater,
or add,
yeah. But there was a lot of enjoyment here and just having not a normal week, but a week that kind of switched things up for, both of us.
Yeah, it's just a totally different special. We haven't done it before.
Yeah.
And it's just let's just chat. Let's just have a conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But that's what I was going to say as well. Folks, do you want to be a part of the conversation? You have something that you want to add that would kind of be good, or you want to give one of us shit or praise, whatever, please become a producer. Vin and I, we're not advertising based here. We don't have any paywalls where you need to pay us to gain access to everything. We're not Patreon where you need to give a certain amount to gain a certain amount. Everything Vin and I do, it's out there. It's for free. We're not going to shove ads in your face or down your throat. But if you're finding it valuable and if you're having a good time hanging out with us every week, if you're using the website, we look at that as value in your pocket. So could you send us some value back in our pocket? We are listener supported. We are producer supported. And when you donate into the show, you become an actual legitimate producer of the Daily Ratings. Just like I said earlier on specials, we don't do producer segments. That will be for next week. But basically, at some point in the show, we'd take a moment to thank those who have produced into the show. And when you donate in, you can also write in a producer note. Those can be questions, comments, critiques, suggestions, and ask us anything. If you're going to produce, hey, you have a seat at the table with us. Absolutely. We want to hear what you have to say. We want to give you more than just a thank you. So again, if you want to add to this conversation, go to thedailyratings.com and head to the donations tab. You can donate whatever amount that you want. There is no set number. Any donation, big or small, whether it's $5, $50, $500, everyone's on their own finances, and that's why we're doing it this way. It's value for value. What is the value you're getting? And to be a part of the conversation, when you send in a donation, again, write in your producer note. If you just want to email us, either your note or just in general, our email address is tom.vin@thedailyratings.com. Email us your producer note there. And we love all the producers so far. We hope we get more in 2025. The listenership is going up and up, which Vin and I absolutely love to see. And most importantly, we are listener supported. So if you're enjoying yourself, just stop by the donations page on thedailyratings.com. Vin, thank you so much for stopping by tonight. Good things to noodle over for the next week. We'll be back with our regular program next week. If you catch the news show every Tuesday morning, I'll let you know what films we're absolutely covering, whether we're going to throw Parasite in there or not. And we go through, of course, the normal news every Tuesday morning as well. And as always, folks, thanks for stopping by. It's always fun. We'll see you next week right here on the Daily Ratings Podcast.